welcome back to my channel. I'm really excited for today's video. I'm going to be sharing with you my capsule makeup collection. This is a video I saw Sarah Rose do a couple of months ago, so I'll have her channel and her video linked down below, as well as the original creator and a couple other videos like this in case you like this style of video and want to watch more content like this. Check the description box for all of the information. If I'm understanding this correctly, there is a thing called a capsule wardrobe. I feel like I am definitely not sounding like a fashionista right now, but it's essentially how you build a wardrobe. I could be wrong on this, don't quote me on this, but there's 3 separate categories of my capsule makeup collection I'll be taking you guys through today. The first range of products will be products that are like your underwear of your makeup. So these are products that just like set you up for success, essentially. Like basically these products are like what set the foundation for the rest of the makeup or the rest of your outfit, like if we're talking capsule makeup. In my description box I'll try and give a better explanation for like the 3 categories that I'll be sharing, but the second category are my staple makeup products. So these are like my comfortable everyday makeup products that are just easy to use. I always feel comfortable in them. They're kind of like no fuss products. And then we will finish it out with my wild card products, which are just products that when I'm looking to like amp up a look or go super glam, or if I'm going out or whatever it might be, going to an event, these are like special products that I would pull out kind of for like special occasions, if you will. So if you're interested in seeing the little capsule makeup collection that I put together for myself, stay tuned. First, if you have yet to subscribe to my channel and you like project painting content, or you just like to chit chat about makeup, I would love if you'd consider subscribing before moving on. And other than that, let's get into the video. Okay, we're gonna ignore what's going on with the hair today. I just like can't get it together in the hair department. Like I said in the introduction, there are 3 separate categories of makeup products that I'll be taking you guys through today. The first one, I have my little baggie right here, are my anchor products. So these are essentially like the underwear of makeup, if you will. These are like my everyday essential products that I like feel like if I'm doing my makeup, like I need to have these, if that makes sense. They're gonna set up my base, and yeah, we'll just get into it. Again, I feel like I'm like terrible at explaining things. So for me, I am somebody who loves a primer. I honestly feel like if I accidentally, like I'm not thinking, I put foundation on without putting primer on first, I will literally wipe the foundation off and start over with a primer. I don't know what it is. I love primers so much, and I have 2 primers to talk about. So the first is my First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Hyaluronic Hydrating Primer, and the reason I selected this one is because this kind of gives me the best of just about every world in the primer world. The only thing I don't feel like this one does is like smooth slash fill pores, but I do feel like it's really hydrating, it's glowy, and it offers a really nice tacky base, which is something that I really like. And for me, I love a pore filling primer. I do like to smooth my skin out in that sense, but I don't feel like it's an absolute necessity, whereas I do feel like I do need a little bit of hydration, and I do like to have a little bit of a tacky base. So I feel like I get that from this primer, which is why I selected this one. And then I have this next primer and another product that I'm going to talk about, which is my Drunk Elephant Deep Bronzy Sunshine Drops. I considered putting my Drunk Elephant drops in the next category, which is like my staple products. But honestly, I could go in with my Drunk Elephant Deep Bronzy drops, my Tula primer, which is the other primer I'm going to talk about, and mascara, and I could call it a day. So truly, I do feel like these 2 products are anchor products in my collection, especially because this is something that I can mix with so many other foundations or primers or different base products in my collection to help match whatever shade I am at that given time. So I had to include this in the anchor products. And then, like I said, the Tula Face Filter Blurring and Moisturizing Primer. This also offers a nice tack to it, and it isn't like pore filling, but it's blurring in a sense that this almost has a little bit of a pigment to it. So I do actually feel like it doesn't blur in a sense of filling pores, like I said, but it almost acts as like a really light coverage, really thin tinted moisturizer in a sense, in that it just evens the skin tone out, and I love to mix these two together. These are my favorite combo when I'm trying to like match a self tan, so I had to include these. And then for my Anchor foundation, my Anchor base product, I decided to go with the Giorgio Armani Neo Nude, and the reason I selected this is because I can sheer this out to be light coverage, but I can also build this to be a good medium coverage, and I'm never someone who's looking for like a full coverage foundation. Like, I honestly could go the rest of my life without a full coverage foundation and I would be just fine. I love this one because it is really nice and skin-like. It offers a really natural finish to the skin with just like a hint of like a healthy glow, which is just my sweet spot, and this is one of my favorite foundations in my collection, so that's the one I had to choose for that. I know a lot of people would probably include a concealer in their Anchor product category, but for me, when I really got to thinking about it, I honestly would be fine if I did not use concealer every single day. I don't feel like I get terrible dark circles underneath my eyes, and sometimes adding the concealer I feel like does me more harm than it does good because it creases underneath my eyes, etc. So I have my concealer in my staple products, but not in my Anchor, which I feel like is probably different for quite a few people. But I did want to include a powder because I have really enjoyed setting my face, especially this year. So I selected the CoverGirl Clean Fresh. This is actually a powder foundation, but I like to use this as a setting powder. I love this because it is so thin and so smooth in texture. It does not feel heavy on the skin. It does not look super makeup-y, and it still offers a skin-like finish. It's not powdery looking, and it's not super matte in that it takes the life away from my skin. So I've been enjoying this one so much, and this would definitely be, I've also been loving a pressed powder over a loose powder lately, which is the opposite of the way that I used to feel. So that is a powder that I selected. For me, a bronzer is also just like a quintessential makeup product. Like, I just feel like if I'm doing my makeup, I'm going to be bronzing my skin. Like, I'll skip concealer, but I will take the bronzer. So the bronzer that I selected is the Nablus Skin Bronzing in the shade Ambra. I chose this bronzer because this is more sheer coverage. It's definitely more buildable rather than being super pigmented, and it offers this beautiful sheen to the skin, and that it's not like a super glowy bronzer, but it's also not a matte finish either. And I am someone who's really been enjoying, I don't want to say like a super glowy look, but definitely like I have not been enjoying matte products really at all this year. So I thought that this would be the perfect product. It's a really nice baked formula, and I just love Nablus so much, you guys know. So that is the bronzer that I selected. I also felt like in my Anchor category, I needed to have an eyeshadow primer because I do not feel like I can do my makeup without an eyeshadow primer. And because I go in with shimmer shadow just about every day, I use a glitter glue every day as well. So I wanted to include both of these in my Anchor category. For my eyeshadow primer, I have the Urban Decay Eyeshadow Primer Potion. This is not something that I'm like married to. I definitely want to expand and try a different eyeshadow primer when I finish this, but I'm obviously trying to pan this. If you couldn't tell, it's been something I'm working on all year, and it's taking me forever to get through, but I would need an eyeshadow primer in my Anchor product, or in my Anchor category. And then I just threw in the Too Faced glitter glue. I also know that NYX has a good glitter glue, but I would just want to have a glitter glue in my collection because I do find it to be essential to my eyeshadow process. I also did toss in a second bronzer option because I just could not. I am someone who has so many clothes too, so even though this is supposed to be like a curated capsule, and your wardrobe I think is supposed to be like a curated capsule, I love clothes and makeup. So I had to include a cream bronzing option as well because there are some times that I do not go in with a foundation, but like I said, I do like to still add a little bit of bronzer, which is actually something that I did yesterday. And I used my Milk Makeup cream bronzer because it's so easy to use. I have the shade Baked, and I'll just like add a little bit to the forehead and call it good. So I do feel like this would be something that I would consider to be an anchor in my personal makeup collection. For me, I'm also someone who, even if I don't do eyeshadow, I pretty much put eyeliner in my waterline every single day. So I had to include an eyeliner in my Anchor products. I grabbed this one from Milk Makeup. This is the shade Bonus. I don't know if Milk makes their eyeliners anymore. I just grabbed this because it's the current dark brown eyeliner that I'm using. Any dark brown eyeliner will do. I love the Essence one, you guys know that. That is something I finished this year, and I do plan to replace when I need another brown eyeliner because it's so cost effective. But this was already in my collection, so I'm currently trying to use that up. And then I did want to include 2 brow products because I do like to have a defined brow even if I'm not doing like a full face of makeup. So the 2 brow products that I included are my Glossier Boy Brow. This is something that I love to use, especially on no makeup days, just because it adds volume and like fluff and fills my brows in without being like too much, or like too, not like perfect, but perfect, you know what I mean? So I love the Boy Brow. I use this just about every single day. And then I feel like I have like heavier brows, so I am someone who likes to lock their brows into place, and I do find that a clear brow gel or a brow glue is something that I find to be essential to my makeup collection. So I grabbed the ABH brow glue. This is again not something that I'm necessarily married to, although I do feel like this is the best brow glue I have tried to date, so had to include that. Also had to include a mascara. The mascara that I probably would include if I could only choose one mascara is the Ilia Limitless mascara. I don't currently have that in my collection, so I just tossed a mascara in to remind myself to mention that a mascara would be an anchor product in my collection. This is the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara. Not an absolute favorite. I don't think it's bad, but it's definitely not my favorite formula. It has a really nice large applicator, but I don't find this gives me the length or separation that I'm looking for. It's great for volume. This isn't a review of the e.l.f. Big Mood Mascara. I'm just saying I would need a mascara as an anchor product. And then finally, I also included a lip oil because I need a lip balm or a lip oil in my life. That is like an absolute need. I could be wearing no other makeup, but I always have a balm or a lip oil. So I just have this one from Kosas. This is one of their new ones in the shade Unzipped. It's actually a really beautiful nude shade. I have so many different lip products on my lips right now. I don't want to add this in. Honestly, any lip balm, any lip oil will do, but I do love this one from Kosas. Okay, next up I have my bag of staple makeup products. Now, staple makeup products are going to be products that aren't essential to your everyday makeup routine, but they're products that make me feel comfortable. I find them really easy to use. If I'm in a rush, I would like bring these along. Likely if I was traveling, these are things that I would bring along as well. So we can start with my concealer, just because like I said, most people would probably include that as an anchor product, but for me it's not an absolute necessity. I just tossed my Kosas one in. I've gone back and forth on my Kosas this year. For a while this year I was saying this is not something I would repurchase, but I will repurchase this during the Sephora VIB sale this year. Because I started using the Laura Mercier Flawless Fusion Concealer again, I think that's what it is, I realized I do prefer the Kosas over the Laura Mercier. I think both are good. My Kosas cap broke, which is why I have it out for this concealer because it's just so annoying to use. I literally have a piece of tape over this, but I do love this formula, and I find that this one's hydrating. I can sheer it out or I can let it sit underneath my eyes for 30 seconds to a minute and it'll be more full coverage without being super drying underneath the eyes. So that is definitely would be my staple concealer. I also wanted to include my Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. This is something I just absolutely love. I'm so comfortable with using this. I wear this a ton in the summer as like an all over like face foundation slash glowy product. I also do like to mix this with my Drunk Elephant De-Bronzy. I think that's a really beautiful look. And this is something I would just absolutely want to have as a staple in my collection at all times. So it felt fitting to put that there. I also included a setting spray in this category. I love a good setting spray, so I kind of wanted to include a setting spray in my anchor products, but at the end of the day, if I did not have a setting spray, it wouldn't be the absolute end of the world. But for my staple setting spray, I selected the Urban Decay All Nighter Ultra Glow. I love the Urban Decay All Nighter for making my makeup last longer, and I like the glow version because it's not quite as mattifying as the original. I'm gonna add a little bit of this on right now. This is just something I have always had in my collection and will always have, whether it be the glow version or the original. So I had to include that one. For my blushes, I don't find blush to be an absolute necessity in my makeup collection, which is why I did not include any blush in my anchor category. However, I love blush. I love my blush collection, and I do have 4 staple blushes that I wanted in my collection. The one and only cream blush that I included is my Daniel Sandler Watercolor Cheek Gel. This is a really beautiful neutral shade. I have the shade Nectar. It is such a beautiful nude blush shade. This is something I would always want in my collection. By far, I think my favorite cream slash liquid blush, I think, that I've ever tried, just because it's such an easy shade and it's a really easy formula to work with. So I definitely would need that. And then my Buxom Seychelles for another beautiful nude option. I love this. I have loved this since I've owned this. This is something I've raved about on my channel for years. I know some of you have told me you bought this off my recommendation, which I always think is so fun when you guys tell me you buy things, because I won't shut up about them. And I just love this. I've really enjoyed, since I put this in my project pan a couple of months ago, I've really enjoyed mixing this with other blushes to kind of neutralize or like tone down, maybe make some blushes like a little bit less pigmented. And I've had so much fun mixing this blush with other blushes. This is just such a staple, so clearly it had to go in this category. I did want to include one matte blush in my staple category. So this one from Lawless is my current favorite matte blush in my collection. It's in the shade Angel Suede, and I love this because it is more buildable and it's not super pigmented. It looks super bright and intense like in the pan, but on the cheeks it's just a really beautiful wash of color and it looks really, really natural. So I've been really enjoying that and wanting to include that. And then you guys know I can't shut up about the Nablus Skin Glazings, and I selected the shade Truth, which is my favorite of all of the shades that I've tried. This gives such a beautiful glow to the cheeks, and I don't feel like I honestly could live without this. I mean, I know I could, but I would really not want to. I'm sorry, I did have one other cream blush. I wanted to include this one from Makeup by Mario. This is in the shade Earthy Pink. And the reason I wanted to include this is because it's more of a mid-toned blush shade. So on days that I did want color on my cheeks but wanted a cream instead of a powder, this is a great option, and I've really enjoyed this. I think the formula is super easy to work with, so forgive me, I did have another blush to include. And then for my highlighter category, oh my gosh, you guys, I actually have another blush to include. This is so... This is awkward, because it's like, does anybody need this blush, this much blush? No, not really, but obviously I think I do. I also included this one from Nude Sticks. It is their nudie all over dewy color in the shade Sweet Peach Peony. I just love this shade. This is one of my favorite cream blushes in my collection as well. So I put this on the other morning after I had already like prepared this video, and I was like, I feel like I need to include this in my staple category, because this is something that I reach for. Honestly, if I'm just like in a rush and I want a blush, but I want it to be like no fuss, really easy, I always reach for this. So it felt very fitting to put this in this category of the video. All right, moving on to highlighter for real. I just realized I should have grabbed my RMS highlighting quad, because I use it all the time, but I didn't grab that. I actually grabbed this one from Lisa Eldridge. This is the Elevated Glow in the shade Crystal Nebula. I love this because it is so natural looking on the skin. It truly melts into the skin, but offers the most beautiful, just wet shine to the skin. I am truly obsessed with this. I am so glad that I decided to pick this up. I have not had an ounce of regret, and that had to go in the staple category. And then my other two should probably come as no surprise, especially this one. This is Becca Rose Quartz. I rave about this all the time. I can't shut up about this. Honestly, I feel like if I could only choose one highlighter to keep in my collection, it would likely be Becca Rose Quartz, because I just love a pink toned highlight, and this is just it for me. It has been for a couple of years. And then I also selected the OG original Mary Lou Manizer, because I love the tone of this highlighter. It's just a really nice neutral champagne shade, and I actually find myself reaching for this all the time when I'm looking for this tone of highlight. So I had to include this one. It's also something that can be built up to be intense, but also sheared out, and I've been enjoying a more sheer, not quite as intense highlight. So that one felt very fitting. And then let's do eyeshadow next. So I selected 3 eyeshadow palettes, and again, this is like the staple category, so this is the category where it's something I'm super comfortable using, easy to use, etc. So first, I have my Nablus Side by Side palette. This is such an easy palette to use. The color story is super cohesive in my opinion. You've got warm tone shades, you've got cool tone shades, you've got a good range of mattes and shimmers and just different textures throughout this palette. So I felt like this would be a great staple palette for the collection. Also, I had to include my Natasha Denona Mini Nude just because if I don't know what I want to do, this is always the eyeshadow palette that I reach for. Whether or not it's like I'm going out or I'm just going to work, I just always reach into this eyeshadow palette, so I had to include this in the staple category. And then I also selected the Alva eyeshadow palette from Odenseye, and I chose this for times that I was looking for more of like a mauve toned look rather than a brown neutral look. I love this one because again, you have a good range of mattes and shimmers, and I just think you have some fun, not super bold colors, but if you want to like play around a little bit with color, you have some fun just shimmer shades that are going to add that pop of color to your lid. And this is another palette that I find really easy to work with, so I felt like it was super fitting for this category. And then we are going to wrap it up for lips in this category. I feel like I kind of have a lot, but we'll get through it quickly. I did want to include one lip liner. I have been getting more into lip liner. Before it was super hit or miss if I would wear lip liner, but now I feel like I'm reaching for lip liner every day. That could be because I have so many lip liners I'm currently working on in various projects, but I do enjoy a lip liner. So I included this one from Vive Cosmetics in the shade Velvet Sands. And the reason I included this is because it's just like my perfect nude neutral shade. I just love it so much. This is something I could wear all over the lips and be happy with, or wear it all over the lips, toss a gloss on and call it a day. So that is my one and only lip liner. I do have 2 lip glosses that I'm including. One of them is the Maybelline Lifter Gloss in the shade Stone, which I love the Lifter Gloss formula. I swear I fall more in love with the Lifter Gloss every single day. And I love the shade Stone because it's pigmented and it's, again, just like that brownie nude, kind of mid-tone nude sort of shade that I just absolutely love. So I wanted to include that. And then I've also been raving about the Lawless Forget the Filler Lip Plumping Lip Shine Gloss all year. This is something that doesn't offer a painful tingle to the lips, but really makes even like my dry raisiny lips, like they are raisiny, it makes them look super full and super just shiny and smooth. I love this. I ended up picking up all of the shades, and this is something that I would always want to have in my collection. I did choose 2 liquid lipsticks. I'm not a huge liquid lipstick wearer, but honestly, if I'm going out and I want to just not worry about my lips, I do like a liquid lipstick for that. So I actually chose a limited edition liquid lipstick. I am so sorry about that, but I love this shade so much. It's from Dose of Colors, and it's in the shade A Mauve Story. This is honestly a little bit more hydrating than their typical liquid lipstick formula. Dose of Colors does make, I think, my favorite liquid lipstick formula. It's comfortable, long wearing, etc. And this is just like a Your Lips But Better sort of shade. And then I also chose the Rare Beauty, what do they call this? Matte Lip Cream in the shade Fearless. And I like the Rare Beauty formula because it's not the most long wearing, I will say that. But it is buildable, so it's not super pigmented right off the bat, and it's really, really comfortable. It's almost like a lip stain. Again, not the most long lasting, but I also really love this shade, and I think the formula is really comfortable. It's easy to apply. I don't worry about it being all over my face when I apply it, so I wanted to include that. And then for my 2 lipsticks, Tart Rum Punch, I am obsessed with this. It's my favorite lipstick in my whole collection. It's my perfect nude. There it is right there. I love it so much. I've talked about this so much. I don't feel like I need to say anything else. And then I also went with the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude lipstick in the shade Amorosa. And I went with this because it's a little bit, nope, it's almost an exact dupe for Tart Rum Punch. I could probably just go with Tart Rum Punch and skip that because they're almost exact dupes. Whoopsies. Okay, so that is gonna wrap it up for my staple category, and then we are gonna move on to my wild card category, which I don't have that many products, but the wild card category is just kind of like products that add a little bit of spice to your collection, if you will. Like if you want to just amp up a look, if you're going out, if you want to do something fun, play with color, whatever it might be, that's what this category is. So again, this is gonna be super short and sweet for this category. I did include 2 red lips. One is a liquid lipstick. If I'm really feeling like dressing up, I will do a bold lip, but usually I stick to red for my bold lips. So I have the Persona liquid lipstick in the shade Holy Grail, which is such a beautiful, just like red, like a beautiful blue toned red. I love it so much. I also really enjoyed the Persona liquid lipstick formula. It's really nice and thin, and it's definitely on the more comfortable side for liquid lipsticks. And then I also love my Kosas lip oil in the shade Jaws for a beautiful popsicle lip effect for the summertime. I'm literally obsessed with Jaws. It's something I'll always have in my collection, but not something I wear on an everyday basis. I also have 2 sort of single shadows I wanted to include. One of them is Colourpop Ritz, and I love this for just a really beautiful one shadow and done look. Honestly, I could probably include this in my staple makeup category, but I really don't reach into single shadows as much as I should. There it is swatched right there. It's such a beautiful shade. It is just this iridescent glittery shade, and I think it's so pretty. But again, I don't reach for these products all that often, which is why I included it in the wild card category. And then I also have one of the chrome paint pots from Tarte in the shade Wild Heart, which is a really beautiful duochrome kind of blue pink sort of shade. Again, I feel like I could do that as like a one shadow and done sort of look or sort of shade, but I just never reach for these. It's so beautiful. I need to reach for this more often, or like try and use it as a base. I need to pull this into my next Shop My Stash. But if I'm wanting to amp up a look, I will reach for a shade like this. So that is why I decided to include that. And then playing around with color, I wanted to include 2 eyeliners, because usually I'll play around with colorful eyeliner if I'm feeling like a wild card sort of day. So I've been loving these from LA Girl. They're their Shockwave highlighters, and these are awesome because they are so pigmented. You don't have to like run them in your waterline for hours on end trying to get the pigment. There is, where is it? There is the yellow one. This is in the shade Screamin'. I don't know if my camera's focusing at all. Probably not. There it is. And then I also have this really beautiful aqua blue teal sort of shade in the shade Fresh, which is right there. Super pigmented, really fun. Again, if you want to play around with color. I did want to include my Pat Mcgrath Bronze Seduction palette in this category as well, because when I think about like if my husband and I are going out on date night, like this is the palette that I reach for. This is what I'm going to be reaching for. This is what I'm going to be using. This is something that I always reach for if it's like a special event or special occasion. So this is the first product I thought of when I thought of this category. And then I just have a palette and my single shadows to wrap it up with. Whoops, I'll grab that in a second. I guess we're going to talk about my singles first. I just grabbed one of my single shadow palettes, but honestly, for the wild card category, it kind of just is like all of my singles. I don't reach for my singles all that often, like I said, but I love my single collection if I really, really want to amp up a look, because a lot of my single shadows are the super intense, just metallic foiled shades from like Terra Moon Cosmetics, JD Glow Cosmetics, Give Me Glow Cosmetics. My single shadows, I love reaching into if I really want to go for a bold look. And then to wrap it up, I did want to include this palette from Huda Beauty. This recently released, this is the Wild Python palette. And this palette just inspires me so much every time I look into it. I love the color story, and I have so many different looks that I think about when I reach in or when I look at this palette. And I've had so much fun creating the looks that I've already created with this. So I felt like this was super fitting for the wild card. I've been super impressed with the quality of both the shimmers and mattes in this palette. I don't really feel like I've had a single dud shade. And I just really enjoyed this one and wanted to include this in my wild card category. But after that, that is going to wrap it up for my makeup capsule collection, if you will. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I would love to know what are some of your anchor, staple, and wildcard products in the comments down below. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to watch today's video and for supporting my channel as you guys always do. I love you guys so much, and I will catch you in my next video. Bye!